Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the weekend's going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Big Sunday, of course, for the Arsenal Women Champions League semi-final, second leg away at Lyon later on today, trying to overturn that 2-1 deficit. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. We're going to talk about the small matter of Tuesday night. Tiny little game, you might have heard of it. Arsenal versus Paris Saint-Germain, first leg of the Champions League semi-final at the Emirates. We're going to look at that, look at the decisions facing Mikel Arteta, look at what potentially he could do if Mikel Merino isn't fit. Fingers crossed that isn't the case, of course, and he is fit and he can take his place in that midfield ahead of Declan Rice. But if he's not, he obviously missed the last game. What's Mikel going to do there? Going to be an interesting one. So we're going to have a look at some of that. We're going to look at yesterday's FA Cup semi-final. Eberechi Eze, sign him up. I'm saying it now. Sign him up. So we'll talk about that and plenty of other little bits and pieces to get stuck into on a Sunday. Again, first of all, if you don't know by now, you can listen to this show by podcast. If you can't watch it on YouTube, if you can't spend the time sitting in front of your screen and watching it, you can download it as audio form to all your regular podcasts. The Inside Arsenal podcast, you can find it on all the normal podcast channels. Now, the links are down below as well if you want to get it delivered to your phone in audio every single day, so you can just listen on the go. If you walk into the train station, if you're just going for a little stroll, anything like that, you're going to work, then you can listen to it. The links are down below and you can find it on all the usual podcast platforms. Right, let's take a look at Tuesday night. I can't believe we're only 2 days away, honestly. I don't even know how I'm going to function by the time tomorrow rolls around, let alone Tuesday, with this game. It is all consuming. Such a massive, massive game. Biggest game at the Emirates ever, I think. Probably. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. I know we've been in the semi-final before in the Champions League, but Arsenal were kind of trailing in that game going into that second leg against Manchester United already. You know, United were pretty firm favourites going into that game after the win at Old Trafford. This one sets the tone for the whole tie, isn't it? First game, got to win. I think it's probably safe to say it's probably the biggest game the Emirates has ever seen. But let me know if you disagree with me or not. Whatever it is a huge game. There's no way you can get around from that. And obviously Arsenal aren't in the best position because of that annoying yellow card that Thomas Partey received right at the end of the win against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, which rules him out of this game due to suspension. So Arsenal are going to have to do something a little bit different with their midfield. Now, we know Declan Rice is going to be the guy sort of tasked with dropping in and filling in that number 6 role. I think that's a given at this stage. The key thing is who plays in Declan Rice's number 8 role. Ideally, you would think it would probably be Mikel Merino. That's what Mikel certainly trialled last week in the game against Ipswich, and it did very well. Merino, it's his natural position, more natural than what he's been doing in the last few months anyway. And he played very well against Ipswich and is in a really good run of form. But obviously he missed out of the game in midweek against Crystal Palace due to injury. Sorry, you can probably tell I've still got a sore throat that I've been talking about all week. He missed out of that game due to injury against Crystal Palace, and that has raised a little bit of fears of will he be okay for this one. Now, tomorrow, Arsenal are holding a open training session, so we'll see if he's available or see if he's in that training session or not. If he is, then, you know, problem solved, really. You kind of know what Mikel's going to do then. He's going to play Declan Rice, he's then going to play Merino and Odegaard, and you think Leandro Trossard's going to play up front. But if Merino's not available, then what are the best options? You know, it becomes a little bit more difficult in terms of what you are going to do there. Will it be Zinchenko, do you think? Potentially so. You know, Leandro Trossard has played there before them, but then what do you do? Do you play, if you're going to play Trossard in that role, we can't play up front. What do you do then? Do you play Martinelli up front and move? You know, what are you going to do? That yellow card for Thomas Partey could be so frustrating, especially the way he got it as well. Shoving Ceballos to the floor, he got sucked into that instant. But look, that's been and gone now. We can't sit there and complain about that. It's just going to be there's such a big thing sort of hinging on the fitness of Mikel Merino, I think, because there's just not too many options for Mikel when it comes to how you're going to sort of fill in for that, because we know there's no Jorginho. As I said, there's no Thomas Partey. And so there aren't that many sort of things screaming at you. You could potentially play, you know, if Ben White's fit, people have said you could play Jurriën Timber in midfield. Not for me. Mars Lewis Skelly, again, you could potentially do that. And then you'd have to play Ben White at right back probably, or maybe move Jurriën Timber over to left and move Mars Lewis Skelly ahead. It's just, it is an issue. It is a worry. You would hope, and I know what Mikel said after the game, that he wasn't fit enough to play, but you would hope maybe that if there was any sort of issue with Merino, and he did train the day before the Palace game, but if there was some sort of issue with him, you'd hope that his absence against Palace was purely like, we cannot afford to lose you for this game. You have to play against Barcelona, against PSG. So we're not going to risk you at all against Palace. So yeah, hopefully his absence was just purely precautionary and nothing more than that. Because I think if he does miss out on Tuesday night, then that does represent quite a big problem for Mikel in terms of what he's going to do and the issues that he's going to be facing in those midfield positions. But I'd love to get your thoughts on it. If the worst was to happen and Merino was to miss out, then what do you do? Let me know your thoughts on who you do, what you would shuffle around to make sure that Arsenal is still very, very strong. Because that midfield is going to be such a key area for Arsenal. I talk about this a lot, but going back to the game in October when Arsenal comfortably beat PSG on the night, physically they were so strong and so much more, so just physically dominant against that PSG team, especially in the midfield where, PSG have got so many quality players like Vitinho, Mendes and players like that. But are they physically as strong as Arsenal? I think the answer was pretty clear, no, in that game earlier on in the season. And you'd want Arsenal to really sort of ram that advantage home again in this game, because we know how good PSG can be if they get themselves on the ball and start to feel confident. But if you can really sort of disrupt them in the middle of the park, then hopefully you can seize control of the game. So it's a massive area for me, really, really crucial to how this game pans out. So what are Arsenal going to do if Merino is not around? It's a really big decision for Mikel Arteta, and it's a really big decision that could have a massive impact on the game. So let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Sticking with the PSG game, Luis Enrique has been speaking ahead of the game. We'll hear more from him tomorrow in their press conference as well. Mikel Arteta's press conference is late tomorrow. PSG normally, the away team have the first pick on when their press conference is going to be ahead of a Champions League game, and normally they choose the second time slot because they're traveling from wherever they're coming from, and so they don't have time to do it during the day. So normally they choose the second slot, but in this case, they haven't. PSG have chosen to have their press conference first, which means that Arsenal's press conference is going to be at the stadium at 6:30 in the evening, which is very, very different to how we normally see it before any games, domestic or Europe. But we will hear from Luis Enrique first tomorrow then. And obviously they lost. We spoke about that in yesterday's show. Had a very surprise defeat, their first league defeat of the season, ensuring that their sort of attempts to become invincibles in France was not successful. And Luis Enrique was speaking after the game about, is he sort of panicking from that? It's only 1 win in 4 for PSG now. And he says, I'm not worried at all. We attacked, we didn't calculate, and we came up against a goalkeeper who made some incredible save. I saw a team with 30 goal-scoring opportunities. We deserve to win, no doubt about it. But if the opponent is 100% clinical and you're not as clinical as usual, then things turn around. It's as simple as that. He was then asked about his team selection for the game against Nice and whether that'll be the same 11 that plays against Arsenal. And he just says, make of that what you will, but I will not give anything to Mikel. And I think when you look at the PSG game against Nice, obviously it was a shock result, no doubt about it. Everyone was expecting them to go through the season unbeaten, having got to this stage of the season. But when you look at it and you look at the match facts and you look at how the game panned out and the chances that PSG failed to take, on another day they win that game comfortably. It's as simple as that. And Nice were very clinical, 3 shots on target, 3 goals. A lot of you have been getting in touch and talking about the PSG game in response to yesterday's show and their defeat. Here's what some of you have had to say. So Eric at the top says, PSG result means nothing. 23 points clear in the league. Definitely had their minds on Tuesday too. Not in great form, but neither are we in the league. It's a bit of a low-hanging fruit. I wouldn't start thinking this is going to be easier than we think. We're going to have to be on it. Come on, you Gunners. God, I don't think anyone's thinking this is going to be easy. Eric, this is going to be an incredibly tough game. And PSG, arguably, along with Barcelona, brilliant win for them yesterday in a what a final, Copa del Rey final that was. Sense of entitlement, honestly, at Real Madrid. Wow, it's mind-blowing. See the Rudiger after that game, absolute heads loss. Yes, but I don't think anyone's going to think this is easy, Eric. I think with Barcelona, that PSG is certainly the most informed team, you would say, in Europe, despite the last couple of weeks and results. I think they've definitely got one mind on this upcoming semi-final. Hearts says, That loss by PSG means little. They dominated the game, didn't finish their dinner on the night, but will do everything to redeem themselves when it matters against us. Arteta will not bother with this, but we can take out that they do have vulnerabilities, as with any team. Definitely have vulnerabilities, no doubt about that. That has been exposed recently. Aston Villa exposed it in the game at Villa Park in the second leg when they almost came back and won that game. So there are vulnerabilities there. I still think, honestly, Arsenal's fullbacks play well, and this is why I wouldn't be moving Lewis Skelly or Jurriën Timber to cover for midfield, because I just think that battle down the flanks and Arsenal's fullbacks are so important. If Arsenal can defend well against their wide players, and I think they should get a really good grasp on this game. I think that's really, really important. Goss says, I watched PSG. It is wrong to say they had little energy. They did their press for a good hour, but at some point, any team will not be able to keep that up. Nice were functional with a few decent players scattered through the team. A goalkeeper having one of those games and some pretty poor finishing from PSG. They are defensively unsound and leave space and unmarked runners from midfield. Real Madrid and Refgate. Why would any player go there at the moment? Let's hope Saliba is advised well to stay away. Yeah, honestly, as I said, the sentence of entitlement at Real Madrid, what they did before the game with the referees and the statement and everything like that. But then, yeah, just a reaction as that game drifted away from them yesterday. The absolute heads gone from some of their players. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Brilliant Copa del Rey final, though. Congratulations to Barcelona on that trophy. And Robin says, so excited. Got my tickets in the ballot and are taking my son for his second Champions League game. First was versus Monaco. Can't wait. Well, congratulations, Robin. To get tickets in the ballot for this is pretty unbelievable, mate, because I think you're the first person that I know who has been successful in the ballot for this game. It's been an absolute nightmare for everyone else applying through reds or silvers. Just no one that I know has got them. Actually, one group of people that I know, I think 23 of them applied in the ballot and one of them got one. I don't know who that was. I don't know the person, but I know in that group of mates, 1 out of 23 got it. The numbers are mad. I think it was 3% of red members got ballots. Tickets for this game. Ollie says, already booked the Tuesday and Wednesday off work. Going to soak up the sun before the game outside the Emirates. Same routine needed as the Madrid game, I think, for superstitious. Good luck. Tuesday can't come soon enough. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like I should be driving to Centre Parks on Tuesday just to make sure that my routine's the same as it was for the Real Madrid game. I won't be doing that, though. I will be going up to London early doors to, like you, Ollie, soak up the sun. I imagine I'll be frequenting a few places around the Finsbury Park area, a few watering holes around the Finsbury Park area in the build up to that game. So yeah, you bump into me, anyone, come and say hello, have a drink. And yeah, so I can't wait. What a day. What a day it is going to be. Can't wait for that atmosphere. Yeah, really, really special. Right, just onto the Arsenal women now. As I said, from one Champions League semi-final to another huge game for them. Got a bit of a mountain to climb after that first leg defeat at the Emirates, but it's only one goal in it, 2-1 down going into the second leg at Lyon. It's going to be incredibly tough, no doubt about it. It's Lyon team of class, we know that. Arsenal didn't take some of the chances they had, and they'll be regretting those misses going into the second leg, but there's always a chance, especially when it's just a one-goal game. They're going to have to be on it, and they're going to have to play very, very well, but they're going to have good travelling support over there for this game. Renée Slegger's been talking about it. She said, we've had a 7-day turnaround, which we barely ever have. So it's been good for us. Of course, the first 2 days have been about reviewing and recovering, and that's what we've done. And then in the middle of the week, we've trained hard, worked hard, and we've tried to work on all the details together with a team that we want to bring on Sunday. So it's been a good situation of us being able to spend a lot of time together and work towards the second leg. And I think the environment has been very positive and constructive. Good news, team news wise, Van Donsmela and Lottie Wubben-Moy look like they're coming back for the game. She says, yes, they've been training. The plan is for them to train tomorrow. That was yesterday, and then they'll be available for Sunday. But of course, everyone needs to come through the session as always. She also said that Kim Little is okay as well. So I didn't think she trained on Friday. I don't think she trained on Thursday, but she was due to train on Friday. But she should be okay, according to Renée Slegger. So good team news-wise. I think the goalkeeper is absolutely the key. Van Domsela comes back for that game. I think it just immediately improves Arsenal when that is the case. So fingers crossed for the ladies today, for the women. Hopefully they can set the sort of start on what's going to be a really special few days for Arsenal. So good luck to them. Right. I've already kind of nailed my colours to this mast already. I have to say, the Eberechi Eze to Arsenal. But just watching that semi-final yesterday, the way he played, is not just his goal, but the way he played. He's such a good player. He's just that sort of player. And we saw it on Wednesday night with his goal against Arsenal from the corner. He's just that sort of player who makes the difficult look easy. I really like Nico Williams, and I would be absolutely excited if Nico Williams signed for Arsenal in the summer. But I have to say, I think the more I'm sort of leaning towards one of the two coming, it would probably be Eze. I just think he has got everything that this Arsenal team kind of needs. You can play him out wide as a left winger, but you can also play him centrally. He can unlock defenses. He can score goals. We know that. The number of assists, the chances he creates. Very different player to Nico Williams, of course. You've got one sort of proper out-and-out winger, and then Eze, you definitely can't call that. He's more of a player who likes to sort of drift inside and play in those central areas as well. But I just think he's a fabulous player. Absolutely fabulous what he can do with the ball and how he can open teams up. And when I look at, we've been speaking the last couple of days about what do Arsenal do to really try and sort of unlock the low block next season, something we know they've struggled at this season. The sort of player that Eze is someone who can do that. He can score a goal out of absolutely nothing. He can ping one in from 25 yards into the top corner. He can dribble into the box. He's really good in tight spaces, set players up. He can move balls around, link up well with players. I just think he's everything that Arsenal need. I really, really do. Do I think they'll end up signing him? I have absolutely no idea. I know there's been interest in the past, but I haven't heard that they're pushing for it now. But I really think when they're sitting down at London Colney and they're writing their list of targets and thinking who should we really push for in the summer, if Eze is not at the top or right towards the top of that list, I'd be baffled really, because he just seems to tick so many boxes to me. And this isn't a reaction sort of to yesterday's game. I've talked about it before many times on this channel, how I just think he's perfect. But every time I watch him, this week's been an incredible week for him. And I just think he'd be absolutely brilliant. Fair play to Crystal Palace, by the way. They absolutely battered Villa yesterday at Wembley. Brilliant performance for him. 3-0, could have been 5 or 6. Played so well. Villa looked just really, really tired and devoid of any sort of ideas. But Palace just were on it from the start. The intensity they played with, they were winning the ball back, they were pressing high. And when you got quality players like Adam Wharton, wow, what a player he is, by the way. And Eze, the strength of Mateta, Ismail Assar, who's been an absolute find for them this season as well. They absolutely deserve that, and I hope they win it. I really hope Crystal Palace win it now. But yeah, Eze, sign him up, Mikel, Andrea Berta. Do the best work you can. Get him on board at the Arsenal fan as well, of course. Sam's got in touch here. Thank you, Sam. You say, do you think Max Dowman will play any part next season? He just scored 4 goals against Reading. Already seems too good for under 18s level at 15. Yeah, Max Dowman. I haven't seen the first goal he scored yesterday of the 4. Just the 4 goals for Max Dowman yesterday. The first goal he scored, he picked it up, probably 30 yards inside his own half, ran the length of the pitch and scored. He does look too good. He's just one of those players now, you look at him whenever you see him sort of playing for the 18s and the goals he's scoring, and that goal I just highlighted in particular. It's just when you see players just run away from everyone else and they just can't get near him. He kind of looks like that older kid at school who's just far too good for everyone else in his year. And that's kind of how Dowman is looking at the moment. Do I think we'll see him play a part next season? I would be surprised if he doesn't. I have to say, I don't think he's going to become a regular. The kid's 15, he'll be 16 at that point. So I don't think he'll be a regular by any means, but I think we'll see him. The whole reason that Arsenal, Mikel Arteta is basically having him as a first team regular in training now is to have him in around the players to sort of build that chemistry up, those connections up, so that he can use him in the first team when he's allowed to. At the moment, obviously, he's not allowed to use him. I do think he'll play a part. I don't think he's going to get loads and loads of minutes. I wouldn't really include him as a first team member in terms of my thoughts for the squad next season, but I think he'll definitely play. I'd be very surprised if we finish next season and Max Dowman hasn't made his debut for the senior team. Jeff here has got in touch. Says, hey Charles, I know we're all rightly focused on PSG, but I just watched Chelsea eke out another win, and I'm getting very nervous about qualifying for the Champions League with matches against Liverpool and Newcastle remaining. Bournemouth next week has become a must win. Yeah, I mean, it is a must win. It's a shame what Arsenal, the last couple of draws, if Arsenal win those games and you're absolutely done and dusted. I still think they'll be fine. I still think they'll be all right. Ideally, I want them to finish second. If they don't finish second, I'm not going to cry about it now, because all attention has firmly switched to the Champions League. So it'll be disappointing. I mean, it's disappointing anyway that Arsenal finished second. So I'm not going to cry too much about a difference if it's second or third or even fourth, to be honest, at this point, as long as they just get themselves in the Champions League, which I think they will. I think they'll have enough to get it done. You've got Southampton on the final day of the season, of course, which if you're not taking 3 points, then something is seriously wrong. And yeah, providing if you beat Bournemouth, I think that's job done. I have to say for the top four. Unfortunately, they should have got it done in the last couple of weeks. Have dropped too many points. You look at that Everton, Brentford, and Palace games. It should have been done and dusted by now, but it isn't. But I'm still not panicky about it, I have to say, Jeff. But you're right. The Bournemouth game is definitely very important. Right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll be back tomorrow. Big day, of course. Press conference, open training. I'll be back in the morning to preview all of that and talk about any other big Arsenal news that is doing the rounds. Until then, speak to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.